Hi everybody, it's Grace. Welcome to Eating Peace. I'm in a hotel room. I'm not in my kitchen where I usually do my videos, but I still wanted to come to you this week as I travel and share something that I think is really important. I was remembering in preparing to bring this video that long ago, when I was only, I think 19 or 20, probably 20, I decided to leave college. And I basically was leaving college because of my extreme anxiety and fear and unhappiness and feeling almost like it was a fog what I was learning, that I couldn't really manage or cope being at school, and it wasn't where I belonged at the time. I was really needing healing and gentleness and care and not to be there. And I was eating, and I was obsessing about food, and I was over-exercising, and I was just locked in this incredible lack of spontaneity and very rigid with my food and eating and my body. And I one day just snapped and felt like I couldn't take it anymore and got a one-way ticket home to where I lived, plane ticket, with all the rest of the money I had in my savings account. And I just packed up everything and returned and knocked on my parents' door. That plane trip, something mechanical happened one way with the flight, and we had to land, and everyone had to wind up. First we sat on a plane for a long time, as I vaguely remember, but everyone was given a room for the night in some little hotel, I think someplace in Wyoming. I can't even remember where it was. And guess what I felt like doing as we were there all night long and not able to travel until the next morning? I found a snack machine, and I was buying those bags of snacks, junk food of any kind, in the machine. I know there was a restaurant associated with the hotel, but I was too nervous and anxious and felt too weird about food to even go sit and have a nice meal with myself in the restaurant. At that time, that wouldn't have been conceivable. I couldn't have thought of myself in that particular way, enjoying my own company, or perhaps hanging out with some of the other people or having a conversation with somebody who was on the airline also. So I was just in my room eating bags of junk food. I was so miserable. It was more than misery. It was like experiencing a trauma. And it was weird that it took even longer to get home like that than I originally had thought, what would only be a 2-hour, 2.5-hour plane flight. So I was thinking about that, being in this hotel room, and the dreadful sadness and the horror, the feeling within of having that kind of experience with the outside world. What I wanted to share today was what I thought at the time, which was a grave error. And it was, there is something totally wrong with me. It's not the outside world. So, it's not the fact that the plane flight has actually changed and I'm in this unusual place and I feel scared to death and I've just left college and my parents don't even know it yet and I'm so unhappy. That all must be me. Other people can handle this well. I should even be grateful that I can even get on an airplane and was in college in the first place. It would just be the weight of self-hatred, really. Self-attack would be so deep and so wide because it was the only place I knew to go. There was some truth in it. There is something wrong with me, but I was treating it like something evil was wrong with me. Something so dreadful and horrible was wrong with me, I should even be ashamed of what was wrong with me. I did feel shame. Rather than, if I had had a broken leg, I'd know something was wrong with me, and I would have quickly called 911 or had somebody help me to the emergency room to go get this treated, to get help, to begin to see how I could work with this leg and then rehabilitate and do whatever needs to happen so that I'm getting, working with a new leg, a healing leg in the world, being with things as they are and doing a dance back and forth. With this process, I'm giving so is my environment. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, is to just notice when you are thinking there is something wrong with me, even at the most subtle level in the mind, where they can have this thought. We've all had it. People have these thoughts who don't necessarily have a compulsion to overeat. It's just part of human nature, it seems, to have a mind that's running, throwing out thoughts, just offering them out just constantly. It's like it's a little machine, thought creation machine. And it will try to give thoughts that have to do with how to solve this problem. So my only recourse for solving the problem or addressing anxiety at the time was to eat something. I just need to eat something. Of course, it never made the anxiety really go away, but I was active and I was doing something and I felt like I was feeding myself, and there was this weird emptiness to it, of course, and the food wasn't required in that moment. But if only I'd been able to see more, and I couldn't see more than I could. Fortunately for me, by showing up and making this move back home where my parents lived, where I had grown up, that started a path of trying to discover what was off, how I could help myself, how I could address anxiety, and the healing path unfolded from there. The fake path, what I called fake because of hiding things in my own self and trying to cope with what I thought I should be doing in the world, that was over. So it was a good move because it just offered a new way. It took a big left turn, my life and the plans that were the way they were unrolling, and it went a new direction. I did, I guess, go to the life hospital and begin to try to address this problem so I could heal. So that's a place to begin, because I started to learn, even though I still had the compulsive thoughts, there's something wrong with me. I began to learn that this is all interaction with all other humans, my environment, the way I'm feeling about life, the way I'm feeling about the whole entire world. There's a really interesting thought process, of course, with the work of Byron Katie, who, if you've been watching my videos, you know the work, and I love the work for questioning stressful stories, painful stories, ones that frighten you and keep reverberating into your life, like my experience in that hotel room. Here I am in anxiety, if I'm alone or in an unusual place or feel a little uprooted. Anxiety, fast. And that is just to simply think of this deep underlying belief that I was having, which is the world is a dangerous place, and so am I. My mind is a dangerous place. Fantastic to actually question that. Is that true? Using the work. Who would you be without that story? Who would you be without that story? That the world is so dangerous, my only recourse is to hide, crunch down, turn into a ball, eat food, get a little bit of the tidbit or the sweetness that I can possibly get because there's only crumbs, there's not much out there in the world, there's a lack of abundance. Maybe something has happened within that feels broken. And it's time to begin addressing that in a different way. And it may feel like it's harder. It felt like it was harder for me at first to start that journey. But it was invaluable to, begin groups and different dynamics that would help me get in touch with myself and see my mind was just appearing to be dangerous because I felt so much warning about the dangerous world. And I loved turning that thought around. The world is a safe place. My mind is a safe place. It thinks nutty things sometimes, and it can be pretty dreadful on the self-attack. It's very strange. It's capable of judgment, and it's capable of judging ourselves. It's weird, but it does that. It just churns out thoughts. There's no real right or wrong with them. There's safety in that too. It's just a thought. It's just a thought. If you looked into a basket of thoughts, you would see nothing, just air. But you can begin to turn those thoughts around that are so filled with self-condemnation, an attack and shame that keeps them secret. Begin to connect somehow with your something in your environment, with the world, with understanding that something happened and something feels like it broke. And now it's mending time. Mending time. Not so dangerous. Don't stay in that constant pushing with the danger thoughts. So even though it was so difficult, and I still remember that time and that night, and so uncomfortable, and finally making it home on this journey, I wouldn't regret it or take that back for an instant, because I'm glad something snapped and it was time to get help. And that began a journey of really questioning my thinking, questioning what I thought about the world, and finding out that I could get myself to safety and help and healing rather than self-destruction and shame and difficulty. And there was something in there that also would always be feeling the grief of, not continuing the way as planned, the way I thought it would go, that would work out. So it's a bittersweetness, but life told me what I needed to do. And so it was to love myself and to begin to love my thoughts and to begin to love my experience of being alive in the world. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.